Hello, lovely viewers, and welcome to Get Well, Stay Well on Revelation TV. As every week, my name is Cyrus, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Felicity. How are you doing?
Hi there, I'm fine. I've got a really great week on at the moment, a Get Well, Stay Well week. I have an American lady for the first time.
Excellent.
I have a Frenchman. I have a guy from Holland who's an ex-Rugger International. How about that? I have a lady from Uganda. I have some ladies from Ireland. And I have some people from England.
Excellent.
So it's really international this week.
Now, if people are unfamiliar when you say you had your Get Well week, what does that consist of? What is a Get Well week?
Well, they come for a week and they stay and have a lovely holiday in the sunshine, either at the hotel or wherever. You know, they can book wherever they want to. And so then they have a day in the sunshine or at the spa or on the beach. They're getting a wonderful tan this week, of course. And then in the evenings they come to me and we do the teaching from 7 to 10 at night.
Fantastic.
So it's great fun.
So interesting.
Always lovely people, so interesting.
Yeah.
So everyone makes sort of lifelong friends, you know.
I bet you get to know them quite well, because obviously they have to tell you their personal problems or situations in their life. And
well, we go through all the health concerns.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just have one couple, which is lovely, then I can concentrate completely on them.
Yeah.
But it's fun this week to have so many people with different nationalities. And they're all, you know, sharing taxis and getting very friendly. So it's great fun, it really is.
You had a juicing party, I believe, did
they're
you?
having colonic parties and juicing parties, yes. The conversations are quite interesting. No,
Fantastic.
they're really great, and they're so enthusiastic. And they're all going to go back and spread the word to their churches. So, you know, we're going back to God's word in Genesis 1:29 and 30.
Excellent, Felicity. So today's programme, what do we have in for the viewers
Well,
today?
we're going to start with our friend Joe Cross again, because I think he's such a dynamo. And he's done this second film now. And he's actually filming this time in Ireland. So I thought that would be rather nice, because we have a lot of Irish viewers. And then we've got Dr. Mark Heyman. And he's talking about controlling the blood sugar, which is really interesting. We're going on to growing wheatgrass, my favourite subject.
Wonderful. I think our first ever programme we did together was wheatgrass, wasn't it?
Well, here I am in the green, especially in honour of the beautiful wheatgrass, which of course contains no gliadin or gluten.
Yes.
And most people say, oh, I can't do wheatgrass because I'm allergic to wheat. This one is the real thing, and there is no gluten or gliadin because it's before the grass is actually seeded. This is the fresh living grass.
And we're just going to be basically showing how easy it is to grow the wheatgrass. It's so simple, really, isn't it?
It is, yes, and it tastes really wonderful. In fact, some of the people on the course this week have actually grown the wheatgrass, and the others are going to actually try and grow it from seed, from organic seed, which will be really good. Then we've got a recipe on butternut squash, and that's a really delicious recipe, actually. I love butternut squash. And finally, we're going to have a look at weightlifting with the ladies.
Excellent. Well, let's not give too much away, Felicity.
Right.
Otherwise, we need the viewers wanting more. So let's not give too much away. But let's start with today's clip. This is the first one. This is with Joe Cross. Now, we know Joe Cross from Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead. He did the documentary. He transformed his entire life. He recorded every single step that he was taking. He was eating the wrong foods. He was eating the meats and the dairy. He cut everything out, went on to juicing. So let's just take a look at this. This is an interview with Joe Cross.
You know, I thought I was pretty normal. I was on medication, I was overweight, and I was sick. And that's kind of normal these days, right? And I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired, Jim. And I thought, you know, I'm 40 years of age, this is not right. I sort of had this wake-up call. And so I decided that I'd turn my back on Mother Nature, and what would happen if I ran towards her? Would she heal me? Would she give me some benefits from the beautiful plants you can see here we've got on the bench? If I started to eat more of these rather than foods that were white and beige and black, you know, processed foods, highly refined sugars, fats, oils, etc., what would happen? So I made this commitment to myself that I would do nothing but consume fruits and vegetables for a period of time until I got well. And I sort of made that to be 2 years. And I thought for the first 2 years, what I'd do is I'd supercharge with juice only for the first 2 months. And as it turned out, I didn't need to do the whole 2 years. I did 2 months of juicing, 3 months of eating plant food, and I was off all medication. Now, when I started telling some of my mates back in Australia, hey, I'm going to do this, they said, Joe, you should put a camera on yourself and make a movie out of it. I thought, oh, that's a dumb idea. But then after a little while, I thought, you know what? If this actually works, this could be really cool to document. And also I thought having a camera might just help me make it, because it was going to be tough.
It's quite the commitment.
So now, I mean, it's been incredible. The movie's been seen by over 10 million people around the world. It's a huge phenomenon. There's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that have gone out and bought a juicer just like this, or they've gone out and, you know, consumed more plant food. Maybe they didn't go as extreme as me, but they're just getting more plant food into their diet, and that's a good thing.
Obviously, juicing is quite extreme. What were the downsides?
Well, I think juicing only is quite extreme, right? I think adding juice to your diet in a regular way every day, that's a great thing. But yes, it was extreme, but you see, I think I was living in an extreme way, because let me just tell you, in Ireland, in London, in England, in Scotland, in Wales, in Australia, in New Zealand, in the US, 60% of our calories are being consumed from processed foods, 30% from animal product, and just 10% from fruits, vegetables, nuts, beans and seeds. And unfortunately of that 10%, 3% is that as French fries. That's the potato, so we really don't count that as veg. So I was probably worse than that. So I think I was already at an extreme in the way I was living. So I needed to counter one extreme with another. And so what I decided to do was to eat all these plants, and as I'm going to show you in a little bit, when you juice, you're actually extracting out most of the nutrients. So that when you drink juice, when you drink fresh fruit and vegetable juice, and emphasis on the veggies, when you do that, you are nourishing, you're flooding your body with phytonutrients, with micronutrients, with lots of cells, energy the cells need to keep us healthy and happy, and for us to live long.
Hi there, viewers, and welcome back. So there we go, Joe Cross. He did a very interesting documentary there, Felicity, didn't he?
Yes, it was great, and to bring it to Ireland is wonderful, because there's a lot of disease in Ireland, you know, because of the bad weather and the rain, and everyone's low on vitamin D, of course. So, and of course it's a meat and dairy country, so it's not a good place to actually be in any of these places where meat and dairy is.
It's interesting, at the beginning of that clip he actually said that he was overweight, he was constantly on medication, he was constantly sick, and he felt he was normal. He thought that's the normal feeling to have, and it's only then did he decide that he wanted to transform his life and start juicing.
Well, it's when you start to feel better, you realise how sick you did feel before, don't you?
Yeah.
And you realise how uncomfy it was to carry that excess weight. So it's a wonderful sort of rebirth, you know. It's like getting born again as a Christian, when you really get onto the raw food, even if you go on half and then you have meals the rest of the time. But any move you make, even like having a juice like we're having now, you start with a green juice. I had my wheatgrass this morning, of course, and a juice, and my bicarbonate of soda, and then this is my lunch here, my beautiful fresh orange, straight off the Spanish trees. And
Lovely.
you know, you feel great.
Yeah.
And then later on, if you feel hungry, you can have a little lunch, and it really is a wonderful way to live, and especially if you eat mainly between lunchtime and supper time, you know, certainly not eat after 8 o'clock. And then the body is really, the digestive fires are good at that time of day. And you don't need that big breakfast in the morning, which really exhausts you. So the wheatgrass is the way to start with the breakfast.
Yeah, talk to me, Felicity, a little bit about the processed foods and the sugars and the diet that most of us were brought up with. What about that?
Yeah, well, that's happened in the last 50 years, I suppose. And people have moved on to what they call convenience foods. And it's been very convenient for making a lot of money for big food, and for people who wanted to just cook something quickly in a microwave as well. And so really things have changed dramatically, and our health has deteriorated commensurately. So as things have got more processed, our health has got worse, and so now there's 1 in 2 getting cancer. A lot of people have got diabetes, or they're pre-diabetic already. You see the children too fat. Yeah. And You know,
it's in the news every day when we open our newspapers, Felicity. There's a health problem. There's the obesity, the childhood obesity. There's a diabetes. There's always something related to the news. And do you feel maybe the media are starting to find a way to warn us more about the wrong foods and lead us on to saying, hang on a second, we're doing something wrong. We need to change our diets?
Well, definitely. And the food manufacturers are also starting to listen. And, you know, it's interesting that Starbucks are now doing some fresh food as well. When I was in America last time, you know, as well as the coffee that they obviously serve. But there was a Starbucks restaurant in the hotel where I was staying, and I thought, well, I won't be going in there. But in fact, I wanted to have some fresh fruit, which was prepared in a cup. And I was directed to the Starbucks, and they were actually selling this really nice fresh fruit salad. Mm-hmm. So you see, when the demand of the public moves, and then business will move as well.
Yeah.
So it's really
something that I noticed as well is, for example, McDonald's. They started to introduce within the children's meals. They've introduced like the little tomatoes, the little cherry tomatoes, and slowly, even they're going to hopefully start changing, because when the child thinks I've done so well at school, or I've behaved well this week, I have a treat, they automatically think of a fast food joint, don't they? They say, I'm going to have a sweet, or I'll go to McDonald's, I'll go to the fast food restaurant. But if we can maybe change that so it's still a fun place for them to go, but slowly maybe transform the kind of foods that the children are offered, that's what we really need to be focusing on, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, we never thought of food as a treat when I was growing up. You know, you were allowed to be taken to a sporting event or something instead. Food never seemed to be a treat. And I think that happened in the last, after the Spock generation finished. You know, I was part of the Spock generation, not the Dr. Spock with the funny ears.
I was going to say, I didn't know you were Star Trek.
Dr. Spock wrote, Benjamin Spock his name was, and he wrote a book, a very good book on bringing up, rearing healthy children, I think it was called, extremely good. And anyway, we all brought up our children that way, but in those days, we weren't as addicted to the wrong sugars, fats and salts, that's for sure. And we were eating real food, so it's all this, you know, factory farming and processed foods that have really caused this huge epidemic of disease.
Yeah. Something that I was going to ask you as well is, now when people watch our program, we're constantly talking about juicing, we're talking about eating the green vegetables and everything. We don't want to scare people off at the same time saying you have to be radical, you have to completely change your entire diet, obviously depending on their situation or circumstances medically in their life. But if their health is average, shall we say, they don't have to just say have juices all day and night, do they? At least as long as they start to change their diet, start to remove the wrong foods and introduce the correct foods.
Oh yes, I mean it's a question of how radical you have to be. If someone's dying of cancer, as I was, then you have to be really radical. But for a family who are just moving towards a healthier diet, then the thing is to do it gradually, to always put the good things first. So start with the juices, which are delicious, and everyone wants to try those. And you know, you can cook the chicken or the fish or whatever the family are used to, and then if you don't want to eat it, you just have the vegetables, which is what I've done for years.
That's it.
So I have the vegetables. If I do roast beef and Yorkshire pudding, I will have the Yorkshire pudding, which I love, and the beautiful vegetables and the horseradish sauce and all the delicious things that I like, and a lovely gravy. But I don't eat the meat, so that makes it so much easier. And you have to do it gradually, and you have to adapt. And then if someone is really ill, then you have to go cold turkey, as they say.
We're talking about eating healthy, delicious. Now, it can be delicious. That's the point. We've got a VT coming up with butternut squash soup, Felicity. I'd like to show that to our viewers, just to show it's not all about only juicing fruits and only juicing vegetables. We can be putting different ingredients in and making a lovely meal out of it. Let's take a look at this. This is talking about butternut squash soup. Let's take a look at this.
First step of making the soup is to prepare the butternut squash puree. For the puree we will need a butternut squash, 1 garlic head, grapeseed oil or any other oil you like to cook with, salt, rosemary, and pepper. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Cut the butternut squash in half and remove the seeds. Grab a knife and score the flesh. Cut the garlic head in half and rub the squash with it. Then season your garlicky butternut squash with salt, pepper, and rosemary. Put the garlic inside of the butternut squash like so, and place everything on a baking tray. Drizzle with oil and give it a nice rub with your fingers. We're going to roast our butternut squash for about an hour. To check if it's ready, grab a knife and insert it into the flesh. It should slide in easily, just like butter. Remove the garlic, but don't throw it out, we're going to use it later. While the squash is still hot, scoop out the flesh and put it inside of a blender. As you can see, I struggled there a little bit. Alright, so I managed to get all of the flesh inside of the blender. Let's now puree it until it reaches a smooth consistency. By the way guys, this butternut squash puree tastes amazing by itself. I sometimes serve it as a side instead of mashed potatoes, and it's always a hit. You need to try it. But we're going to continue with our soup. We will need some vegetable stock, onion, oil, nutritional yeast for that cheesy flavor, coconut milk, nutmeg, salt, and pepper. Chop the onion, then heat the oil in a large saucepan. Once it's heated, add the onion and cook for 3 to 4 minutes over medium heat. Take a few of the roasted garlic cloves, by the way these taste super yummy, and add them to the pan. Then add the seasoning, stir everything together and cook for about a minute. Next, add the butternut squash puree that we made. Prepare yourself, because at this point your house is going to smell ridiculously good and you will probably get super hungry. Well, at least I did, so I might have eaten a couple spoonfuls of the puree. Shh, don't tell anybody. Once you've got all of the puree inside of the pan, stir everything together and add nutritional yeast. Finally, add the vegetable stock and bring the soup to a boil. Lower the heat and simmer for 10 to 12 minutes. After, add the coconut milk and simmer for another 5 minutes. Blend the soup in batches. Be careful because it's really hot. Oh, you can see there my light and my hand in the window. Hello! So we're blending the soup until it's nice and smooth. And when you're done, put it into a clean pot. If you need, you can reheat it. My soup was still super hot. So then I just poured it into a plate. And now for the exciting part, the garnish. So one way I like to garnish the soup is by placing some parsley in the middle. You can use any greens that you like. And then I sprinkle pumpkin seeds all around it. Ta-da!
Ta-da! Lovely. That looks absolutely delicious. So we just want to really encourage you and show you how to eat healthy. We're not only always talking about juicing on our programs, but we also want to show some really delicious recipes. Felicity, what's your favourite?
Oh, well, that's one of my favorites. I love that, especially in the winter.
Yeah.
It's been a great favorite this winter. And I love all the garlic, of course. I love a curry.
Yeah.
I think curry is really important. And also I use the coconut milk with that. And I use coconut milk instead of ordinary milks, obviously, because it's much healthier for us. And so with that one, I also use the coconut oil to start with instead of the olive oil. So I really haven't got the olive oil in the house anymore now. I've just got all coconut oil and coconut milk.
Now, once we prepare that delicious, gorgeous soup there, how can we store it? Can we simply put it in the freezer,
Well,
or
you
what do you
can
recommend?
freeze it. Yes, you can freeze it. If there's any left over, you can freeze it. But I always like everything fresh because then it has the living enzymes in it,
Yeah.
you know. And of course, the reason why we talk about raw food most of the time is because we've got the living enzymes still. We've got the electricity, the magnetism, the oxygen in the food. And of course, when you freeze it, you do tend to lose that. You know, you've still got the enzymes, but you haven't got the beautiful electricity and the sort of living feeling of eating. When you bite into a crunchy apple, you know, that's the ultimate. And of course, the satsumas I love, and you can peel those and have them like sweets. You see, this is what we used to have really when I was little. As a sweet, you would have a beautiful satsuma, or a banana.
That's it, I think, because the point is people's problems, I believe, might come when they say, I'm hungry, I need a snack in between meals. That's when they're more likely to kind of go on the wrong way and take the wrong foods. What do you recommend under those circumstances?
And then the nuts are really good.
Yeah.
I've got my my Dutchman who's here for the week, and he's cracking all these walnuts, which I put some walnuts out there, and on the table, and so he's working his way through those. And I've also got some pecans and some pistachios.
Lovely.
And so that's what we snack on.
Yeah.
Because we try to lead from the top, and I show them the juices, the distillers, and the dehydrator and everything.
I'm sure our viewers would love to know is how many juices does Felicity Corbin-Wheeler have in a day, or what is your meal, or what do you have on an average day?
Well, it depends, obviously. If I'm sitting at home and I'm perhaps teaching it, I will have many more.
Yes.
If I'm travelling, then I might only get 1 or 2. But I always have my wheatgrass, because you can have that powdered, and take that with you. So when I go to America, I should be taking my powdered wheatgrass with me. And the great thing is to get that green into the body, because that wheatgrass has got so many different nutrients in it. It's an amazing food. It's a whole food. Special forces worldwide are taught, if all else fails, you can live on the grass. So that means chewing it, of course, because you haven't got a juicer. But it has all the vitamins, all the minerals, all the amino acids that we need to make protein. So it is the complete food.
And of course, you can also grow your own wheatgrass as well, can't you?
Fabulous. That's the best. It tastes absolutely wonderful when you grow your own.
Excellent. Yeah. Have you, viewers, ever thought, how do I grow my own wheatgrass? Ever wondered that? Let's take a look at this clip, and this will show you how.
And put the wheat in and let it soak overnight. Simple as that. After the wheat's soaked overnight, you can put one of these cool sprouting lids on it. You can just use a sieve or something like that for straining, but this makes it kind of easy. It's got a wire mesh in the end. So you just strain the water out and fill it up again and give it a rinse a couple of times. Now we're going to repeat this process at least twice a day, at least every 12 hours. And once we finish rinsing, we'll put it over in like a dish rack or something like that, stand it up on an angle so any extra water can come out. And we're going to leave it for about a day and a half until it sprouts up, until it's got little shoots, rinsing it twice a day. Okay, so we're going to do this bit outside because it's a little bit messier. After you've finished sprouting your wheat for a day or a day and a half, it's going to look like this little sprouty bit sticking out the end. So we're going to take this and we're going to spread it out in a tray, a seed raising tray, with just a very thin layer of soil on the bottom of it. So we're talking, a centimetre and a half of soil, not very much. It's just really, the seed's not going to be in there long. It's just enough to keep it going while we're growing it as a grass. So we put the seed, the wheat, the sprouted wheat, out on our soil. The soil's already been wet thoroughly through, and we spread it out just so it makes a nice even layer right across the soil. We don't really want it so there's too much sitting on top of each other. This is about a cup of wheat, which I find sprouted it turns into more, and I find that to be about the right amount for a tray this size, just a normal seed raising tray. Okay, once we've got it nice and spread out, maybe a little more there, we're going to cover it with a piece of newspaper, which we're going to damp down as well. So it's very important for the first couple of days that the wheat stays dark while it's developing and growing, and that's going to help it grow better. Then we'll take it back inside once the water's sort of excess water's run out, and we'll put it on a shelf or on a bench somewhere, and we're going to keep it moist for the next few days and let it grow up. So after a couple of days of keeping the seed dark and damp, it's going to look something like this. We'll take the newspaper off now. Something like this. You can see all the little shoots sprung up. They're maybe 3 or 4 centimeters long, and kind of yellow. So it's time for them to get some sunlight. You can put the wheat outside, or you can just keep it inside somewhere where it'll get at least some sun. And you need to keep watering it every, once or twice a day. Keep it nice and moist, and it'll sprout up pretty quick. 3 or 4 days later, watering it every day, your wheatgrass is going to look like this.
Oh, great.
Absolutely wonderful. Didn't that look great?
It looks absolutely gorgeous, doesn't it?
Gorgeous, Felicity. Gorgeous, darling. Gorgeous.
And imagine how healthy that is when you get that into your body. So that's the great thing. I mean, it looks fresh. I think it looks wonderful. You may mock at it, but I know what it does to the body. It's absolutely amazing in the body. It heals outside on the skin. It heals inside when we drink it. And, it rebuilds the blood as well. It rebuilds the red blood cells to bring up people who've had chemotherapy, perhaps. It's the one thing to really build the red blood cells up again.
Yeah.
And the white blood cells as well, which are the immune system. So terrific to have wheatgrass.
I actually had the wheatgrass powder when I was doing the juicing challenge, shall we say, and it's lovely. You put a little bit of just a teaspoon of wheatgrass into the juice, and it's fantastic, and it's very convenient. If the viewers didn't want to grow it, or they're unable to grow it, simply just get it in the powder form as well, isn't it?
Powder form or the frozen form. Yes, you can also get a beautiful tray of wheatgrass delivered to your home in England from a firm called Aconbury, Aconbury, and they are very good, and you can get it at the sort of 3rd day stage or 4th day, and by 11 days, of course, it's really grown up to about 11 inches, and then it's ready to harvest. So when the main blade is just splitting off with a joint, a little bit of a daughter blade coming off it, that is the absolute moment to harvest the wheatgrass. So you cut it then either with a ceramic knife, or you cut it with scissors, and you then put it in a green bag, these green bags that keep things in the fridge for a few days. And so that will be your supply probably for a week. And then, of course, you're growing the 2nd and 3rd lots as well. So I have 3 of these big trays, and it's very easy to do once you get in the rhythm. And so as soon as you harvest one, you start growing the next one.
Fantastic. Now you would explain to our new viewers out there, how did you become so educated, and how do you know so much about health and wheatgrass and everything else that we always discuss every week on our shows?
Well, I nearly died of pancreatic cancer, and so I had to do something very quickly. Went for prayer at my church at Holy Trinity Brompton, and the pastor who prayed for me there had been a gastroenterology nursing sister before, and so she told me about the Genesis diet, getting back onto God's diet of the herbs, the fruit, the vegetables, the seeds, the nuts, and the green plant. And the wheatgrass is just part of that, and I'd never heard about this stuff before, quite honestly. Had no idea, but when I trained at Hallelujah Acres, when I got better, that's a wonderful Christian ministry in America, and they were teaching about the barley grass, which was a powdered form. Then I went to train at Hippocrates, and we were actually growing the wheatgrass. And so you can do barley grass or wheatgrass, but I think the wheatgrass is slightly better. It's certainly lovely to grow it. And I went out to New Zealand. I've been there about 4 times, researching and doing stuff, and actually seeing it growing, because it's one of the healthiest places in the world. It's the least flown over by a whole lot of planes. Whereas when they grow it in America or Europe, of course, it's overflown all the time. Like our reservoirs, you know,
Yeah.
our reservoirs where the water is supposed to be so pure. You've got aeroplanes flying over all the time. You've got chemtrails. You've got all the pollution that goes with the heavy metal out of the planes.
Also, the benefit of growing your own wheatgrass is you even if you're with your own children, it's just another way of educating the children as well, because they must love to see the whole process of it as well.
Oh, they love it. My little grandchildren come and grow the seed with me, you know, and then over the week they see this thing grow, and then of course they juice it, and that's the big moment, and then you can drink it. So it is exciting because they've been in at it from the very start, you know, and they learn how things grow.
How would you? Yeah.
It's
So-
really interesting, and nothing tastes as good as something you've actually made yourself, you know, and it's wonderful for them to see how things germinate. You soak the seeds, you know, to start with. You can also do it in a fresh life sprouter, which is really easy.
Yeah.
So that's a double-barreled thing with water in the bottom barrel. The top barrel you can put wheatgrass, or you can do the sprouts. So you can do sunflower, alfalfa, clover, fenugreek, all kinds of different
Yeah.
sprouts. Buckwheat is good.
Excellent.
And
How would you describe wheatgrass, the taste of wheatgrass when you first taste it? What would you describe?
Well,
it
I'm
as?
sure, you know, we've all, when we were children, you play on the grass and you pick up, you know, you put it in your mouth. And so it tastes just like that. And what you can do is put a little bit of lemon with it to make it taste really nice. And then also on the glass that you're going to drink it out of, you can put a little lemon. I just rub a cut lemon, over the top of the glass, over the rim. And so it really tastes delicious.
Now let's go back to juicing and the recipes and the ingredients about juicing. For example, we can add wheatgrass within our juices, can't we?
Yes, you can. The thing is, it changes the colour. So I don't put it in, say, our orange juice today because it would go a muddy colour. So I prefer my juices to be a real jewel colour, you know,
Yeah.
yellow or red or purple. Or then the green ones, of course, you can put in the wheatgrass. So certainly, but now I quite like just drinking the wheatgrass on its own, and I have that every morning. And if you have the powdered wheatgrass, you can actually slip a knife into the bag and put the wheatgrass balanced on top of the knife, and that knife you can carefully insert into the neck of a bottle with water in it. Okay, cap it and shake it up. So because you've really got to mix it up. So I shake it like that, and then you can put some wheatgrass and add a little bit of lemon, maybe on the top of the rim of the bottle. So it tastes really good.
Absolutely
But
wonderful.
that's I think, you know, the mean green thing is absolutely the best. And when you get used to the juicing, you know, you find that the wheatgrass is the one you keep going for.
Fantastic.
Because it contains all those vitamins, all those minerals.
Yeah.
And it's so healing with the
And you're in
skin.
your wheatgrass jacket today as well,
I'm
aren't you,
in my
Felicity?
wheatgrass jacket. And for people with cataracts, you know, you can actually bathe the eyes with wheatgrass.
Wow, that's interesting.
That's really interesting.
That's very good.
So people have used it, and for taking off little skin problems, you know, if they have rough patches, put wheatgrass on, cover it with a Band-Aid, and within 3 or 4 days, that rough patch will actually fall off.
That's very good, yeah.
It's so healing.
We would
So-
absolutely love our viewers to try that and just experiment and try new things. If you've never tried wheatgrass before, why don't you try it, introduce it into your diet and just see how things change and keep us up to date, and let us know on Revelation TV. We'd love to hear from you. Now, something that I want to talk about is the blood sugar. How important is it that we look after our blood sugar?
Well, that's really important because when we are addicted to the sugar, as most people are, you know, we have these highs and lows, and so it creates mayhem in the body. It ruins the pancreas, and also changes our mood. You know, the mood goes up and down with the sugar. So we have to get to a balance, a homeostasis, and Dr. Mark Heyman is particularly good on talking about that, the way that it actually heals depression, because when people have got the blood sugar going up and down, they tend to get very moody, irritable,
Yeah.
difficult. And so when they come back to the homeostasis, they will very often be able to get off their medications as well, always with the help of their doctors.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's take a look with Mark Heyman. Blood sugar is something that is so important, and this is Mark Heyman talking about the blood sugar solution. Let's take a look.
Depression is just another symptom, right? It can be caused by low thyroid, by food allergies, by low vitamin D, by taking too much acid blocking medication that causes B12 deficiency, be caused by eating too much mercury containing fish like tuna, or hating fish, which causes omega-3 fat deficiencies, and it can be caused by eating too many Cinnabons, which cause prediabetes, which is a known cause of depression. So fixing this will fix depression in people who have that as a cause.
Okay, and it's people could follow it. The average person could follow it.
Yes, it's very simple. Clearly steps outlined. It's something you can do at home. You know, I always say that food is medicine. It's not like medicine, it is medicine.
Food is medicine.
Yes, and the most powerful thing you're going to have to cure your illness is not what you find at the bottom of a pill bottle, it's what you find at the end of your fork.
Okay.
Dinner is a date with the doctor. Remember that. You can heal with meals.
Okay. Now you said I think I heard you say this on TED or something, that the pharmacies of the future are the grocery stores.
That's right.
You say something like
that's
that?
right. You know, when I go shopping for my drugs, I go to the grocery store. I go to the supermarket, and I look at vegetables and fruits and plant foods that are in the grocery store as my medicine. And I think, okay, what drugs do I need today? I'm going to take some broccoli, which has things that can help me detox. I'm going to have some curcumin. I'm going to make a curry tonight because that's an anti-inflammatory. I'm going to take things that help me balance my blood sugar, like cinnamon or other things. So I think about all the medicinal properties in foods that nobody's really thinking about, and how we can use food as medicine.
But the poor people in this country don't have access to this kind of food sometimes.
That's right.
So, and they're getting the type 2 diabetes. I mean, you see 11, 12, 13-year-old girls built like 50-year-old women, or 70-year-old women that are out of shape.
That's right.
So what's the solution there? What do you do there?
It's
Could
a huge
this book
problem.
help those people?
Absolutely. I mean, you're seeing 1,000% increase in type 2 diabetes in children. We used to call it adult onset diabetes. We can't call it that anymore because kids 7 years old get it. Now, this problem is because of food deserts, because people can't walk 5 miles and find a vegetable. That's got to change, and that is changing slowly. There are things happening where people can start to get access to real food.
But what if somebody says, and you must hear this from patients, because even knowing that you're going to come on the show, people that are headed toward type 2 diabetes, they said, but I don't want to live a boring life. I don't want to have to eat like that. Okay?
Yeah. Well,
no fun at all.
The problem is
how do you help
we
that
define
person?
fun.
Okay.
If you define fun as feeling like crap all the time, go for it. But most people are actually addicted to industrial food.
Really?
Combinations of salt, fat, and sugar, the way they're designed and put into processed and junk foods and fast food, actually causes biological addiction. And if you study this in humans and animals, if you take a rat and you put them between cocaine and sugar, they're always going to go for the sugar. If you look at what parts of the brain light up in people who are junk food and processed food addicts, it's the same thing as heroin or cocaine. And we know how to turn those things off. That's what I talk about in the blood sugar solution. And those are things that are driving this epidemic.
So people can get people to not crave sugar.
Absolutely. I mean,
is that
right?
Let
me tell you, the food industry has hijacked our taste buds. They have hijacked our taste buds and our kitchens, and we think we like this food. But let me tell you something. If you get off it for a while and you begin to taste what real food tastes like, it tastes way better than that stuff.
I love that when he mentions people think fun food is boring.
It's not. It's absolutely wonderful. We need more raw food restaurants, and that's what I would love to start. We need one in Jersey. We need one here in Spain. There are lots in London now.
Yeah.
There are lots in London. And there are lots in America, especially in California, where I trained.
But the most important thing is something that I was mentioning at the beginning of that, VT, is depression. And the ways that depression is caused. He mentions there is from low thyroid, food allergy, low vitamin D, too much acid blockage medication, too much fish containing mercury. Now, there are certain things in that list that we can simply remove from our diet and really take control of our own health.
That's right. And, Professor Andrew Saul has talked about niacin as well. And we can certainly control the way our mind is working mentally, physically, and spiritually. When we say our prayers, when we get into the Bible, we do come back into a peaceful state. And people have to detox physically and mentally as well. And the niacin, the B3, is something that people have got very depleted in. So as Saul says, and also Heyman says, our minds are very much what we've eaten as well. It's not just our bodies, but it's our minds.
It's like the saying says, you are what you eat.
That's right.
Now, it's physically, but also mentally, because depending on what food you're eating, also relates to the state of mind that you're in at the end as well.
There's no doubt about it. And when you're really on the wheatgrass and you're having the juices, you get higher and higher with spirits. You know, you feel your spirits, all the depression melts away, and you get really happier and more peaceful. Because if you think about it, if you're eating dead animals, you're eating dead animal flesh. There's nothing very happy about that. But the beautiful plants and the beautiful fruits and vegetables, you know, do definitely lift the mood. There's no doubt about it.
Something that was also mentioned is that there's a 1,000% increase in childhood obesity
Yeah.
because of the lack of the access that they have to eating the right foods. Now, do you think that is the problem as well? Is that one of the key problems, that when we want to feel that we want to eat healthy, where we're out, we're not in the house environment, do we have the right access to eating the right foods?
Well, it depends where you choose to eat. That's the thing, isn't it? And what I do is really take some food with me. Or I eat before I go out very often.
But certain situations, Felicity, some people are busy, they're in meetings, they're running around, they're rushing, and they might not have had time to prepare their juices before, and they might be in the town centre or they might be out, and they obviously can't prepare a juice there, and there's only maybe a little shop or a petrol station they have to go into. They don't have a great deal of access to healthy foods there if they want to pick up a healthy snack, is it? It's just chocolate bars or crisps and foods that really shouldn't be
well, in the petrol station where I go here, they have the most wonderful nuts. They've got these beautiful cashews, they've got almonds, and I'm delighted to see that. It's really great.
Yeah.
So I just pick some of those up when I go to fill the car with petrol, and I keep them in the car.
There you go.
So then, when I am hungry, you know, when I finish the show with you, probably I'll get back in the car, have a juice, and think, wow, you know, I need something to eat. So then I will go into those delicious seeds and nuts. So there's pumpkin seeds as well. But the thing is always to be armed with something healthy, so that you're not caught out and you go for the cheese sandwich or the ham sandwich, you know.
That's it. But the point as well is, Felicity, is when I was juicing, and I'm still juicing now, is you feel more full while you're juicing. It really does take away your appetite, as in it really fills you up.
Yeah.
You don't feel hungry afterwards, whereas on other diets or when you're eating the wrong foods, doesn't matter the quantity that you eat, you still might feel hungry afterwards. Now, that's the key as well, isn't it? It's not feeling hungry, so you don't have that temptation.
You've got to have the juice before you feel hungry. You've got to have the nuts and the seeds before you get hungry. Absolutely. It's vital to be prepared like that. And then you get onto the maintenance diet, which you do. You know, I know you've done the 28-day basically on juices.
Yes.
But it's important not to go back
to
the key. The things that were making you ill before.
That's the key.
And do it as a maintenance thing.
That's it.
So you can, if you want to lose more weight, you stay with it, as Joe Cross did, and I think he went on 2 years in the end.
Yeah.
But if you come back to some healthy extra food, and you know, that's why I've written the recipe book, which has given people ideas. And one day I will make a really super duper recipe book with some cooked food as well.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing, though, Felicity. You really made the point there of, it's great to go on a crash diet and do a week diet, a 28-day diet, a 2-month diet, but it's all a waste of time if after you finish that you go back to eating how you were previously, because that just takes everything away, and you'll probably put as much weight on, or you'll feel worse than you were before you started.
Well, that's it. I mean, it should be a lifetime, and you know, God has given us the right diet to eat: the fruit, the vegetables, seeds, nuts, and the green plant. So basically, we should be living on that. And you know, the meat came in after the flood, in Genesis 9:3, but there are consequences. There are always consequences for sin, for killing something. There's always a consequence. So the thing is really to go back to You know, like when you become a Christian, you change the way you live, don't you?
Yeah.
So when you become aware of what God has told you to live on, then you certainly change your food as well.
So we've changed our food, Felicity. We're looking to change our lifestyle, and included in that is exercise. How important is exercise?
Oh, absolutely vital, and we've all got to do it. And get out and dance, or do some weightlifting, or some tennis, or some golf, whatever people want to do. But just move the body, even the bouncing, you know, we were talking about earlier. Bouncing on the heels or using a rebounder. But whatever you do, get the body moving, get the circulation moving, get the lymph moving, and then you breathe better and you feel better, and it also lifts mood as well, of course.
Absolutely. And if any of our viewers want to try it, why not try it now with our next VT that we have available? Why don't you get up from your sofa and try this? This is the beginners to doing a little bit of exercise, some nice easy exercise to start off with. So let's see if you can get off that sofa and join in. Let's take a look at this.
Today I'm going to show you 5 must-do moves to have you looking and feeling stronger. All you need is a pair of 8 to 12 pound weights. This is for the hamstrings, glutes, and low back. So you want your feet about hip width apart, okay? You're gonna have your hands just gently grazing the top of your thighs. You wanna slightly bend your knees for this, okay? Keep your back safe, and you wanna keep that back nice and straight. Kind of jet that chest forward and the hips back, so that as you drop forward, you're just gonna graze those hands right along the legs, come just below the knees, and then you wanna come nice and upright. So you're getting a good stretch through those hamstrings as you drop down. Nice, gentle bend in the knees, and then come up nice and tall. It's important to do this move nice and slow and keep your back nice and straight. You want to get about 10 to 15 reps. This is for those arms, biceps, and shoulders. You want to still have your feet about hip width apart, nice slight bend in the knees so that your back is safe. You're going to take those weights, you're going to give it a nice bicep curl. You're going to rotate those palms facing out and press. Bring it nice and slow on the way down, the same way you came up. So it's a little bit of rotation through the forearms and press. You're going to feel it through the shoulders on that press, biceps and forearms on that curl. Curl, press it up overhead. Remember not to go too heavy at first with this one. Really want to master that technique. Curl and press. This is just going to be stationary, okay? Because it's really important that we learn this in any functional strength training program, because you really open up your hip flexor and activate your glute on this. You want your feet nice and wide so that when you drop that back knee down gentle, you're going to have that nice stretch through that quad. You're going to press through that front heel and come up tall. So you want to keep your chest nice and high. You don't want to hunch forward. Keep a nice upright posture. You're pressing through that front heel and that back toe equally, so that you're going directly straight down and up. And if you wanted to modify this, you could go less with the depth, because you're going to feel a great stretch through that quad. This is excellent because we want to work that back and those shoulders. So you're going to go into a nice bent over position. You want to have those knees bent and hips bent, but you want to keep your back straight. So make sure that your chest is nice and high. Your hands are going to come just in front of the knees. Then you're going to drive those elbows straight back, pinch those shoulder blades together, so you're really working that middle back, and then lengthen it out nice and long. So you're going to row, pinch, let it out slow. Draw those elbows straight back, keep that chest up, keep the weight on your heels so that your glutes are activated to support your low body. Going back and forth. Get about 15 of these, and you'll be feeling that good back strengthening work. You're gonna lay flat on the floor, or you could lay on a bench, whatever you have at your home or gym. You're gonna bring those weights into the hands, and you're gonna set up so that your back is flat, your feet are flat down, and your elbows are just below your shoulders, okay? You wanna be able to lift those weights straight up above your chest, not your eyeballs. So make sure your weights aren't too high or too low. You wanna go right above the chest, and then drop those elbows down, all the way, tap it, and back up. If you don't have a floor that you're working from and you're on a bench, just make sure you don't go super, super low with those weights. You don't want to go beyond the chest when you're dropping those elbows. You want to breathe it out as you push up. Inhale as you come down. Great job with those strength training moves, guys. We'll see you next time on Fit Sugar TV.
Hi viewers, and welcome back there. It's just something to get you a little bit active, to get a little bit of exercise, because we always talk about food, we talk about juicing, we talk about eating the right nutrients, but at the same time it's important to be a little bit active in your life as well.
Well, the weightlifting is really important, because if you don't actually lift weights, you're not going to keep the bones strong. And the thing is, as you get older and people say, oh, let me carry that for you or look after you in some way, in fact, you stop using the weight-bearing exercise. So I don't have actual weights, but I do have the little bottles, you know, that you can get the little bottles of water or the bigger bottles, and you can use that. And I use the resistance bands, which are also very good. But it is important to keep, you know, walking, because when you're walking, obviously you're weight bearing as well. If you're carrying your golf clubs, or you're carrying parcels, you know, goodness me, lumbering all that stuff back from the market where I do my shopping. So we all have to lift weight. But it is good to keep going with that, because if you don't use it, you lose it, as they say. That's true.
Now, something that if people are looking to do some exercise, they might do it first thing in the morning when they wake up before they start work, or they might do it in the evening when they finish work, and it's times of the day that they might need a little bit of energy. What do you advise them to have before doing an exercise to just give them a little bit more energy?
Well, I do the wheatgrass and then the exercise. That would be ideal. Yeah, you need to have the wheatgrass really to give you the energy. But I feel most energized when I wake up in the morning, and you know, the sun's coming up and you're beginning to feel good. You want to go out and walk or run or jog, whatever you can do, but take some exercise then, and then maybe have a shower and you go to work. But that's the ideal thing to do, because if you exercise last thing at night, it'll be more difficult to go to sleep. You know, you want to be sort of calming down from about 10 o'clock at night.
Yes.
And getting into the mood for a good night's sleep.
Yeah, excellent. I just want to talk about something that we talked earlier about depression. I want to talk a little bit about the mental state. How can we keep our mind positive, Felicity? Just give some encouragement out there to some of our viewers.
Well, you've got to pray, you've got to read the Bible. I mean, I love my Bible, and I have it on the bed with me, so I read it. If I can't sleep at night, I'll pick up the Bible. I love the Psalms, I love the book of James and Jude, and the words of Jesus, of course. You just cannot beat any of the parables. And what a wonderful way to soothe yourself and to get to sleep at night and know that, you know, the King is coming and everything's going to be all right. So that's the best way to lift the spirits, definitely.
And it's so important to have God involved in your life as well, isn't it?
Absolutely vital.
It gives you the peace. No matter what circumstances, no matter what situation you're in, put your troubles onto God and just trust and believe that God will take care of anything. There is no problem that is too big for God.
And God always has a better solution to things than we would ever have dreamed of. So it's amazing when we give it to Him and ask Him to help, then, you know, the most amazing things happen. God incidences, as I say,
there you go.
Instead of coincidences. It's a God incidence.
Excellent, Felicity. Well, we've had a very action-packed programme today.
We sure have.
We've covered a number of items. Just give us your final words of encouragement, if you can.
Well, I just like to pray for people, especially anyone out there who's feeling depressed. And we just say, Lord, you know how people are feeling, and you know everything that we've done, every mistake we've made. Lord, we just pray that you will be with us with your Holy Spirit, comfort us and guide us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, as always, Felicity, for joining us. Thank you also to our viewers. Remember that we have a catch-up service on our website, so if you do want to watch this program again, please log on to our website. It's www.revelationtv.com. Just to remind you, we're doing the Get Well Challenge on Twitter. We're doing a hashtag Get Well Challenge. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/RTV Europe. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/RevelationTV. Thank you, as always, viewers, for joining in today's program. Without you watching, we wouldn't have a program. So thank you, as always. We look forward to seeing you next time on Revelation TV. God bless. Okay.